Congratulations to Kevin Stevens. Congratulations to Matt Cullen, both of whom yesterday were selected for the US Hockey Hall of Fame. Good morning to you. Good Friday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. For those who are new to the game, there's more than one Hockey Hall of Fame. There's one that's just for Americans, and it's one that's got a lot of very significant representation from the Pittsburgh franchise. Artie being added, Artie being Stevens, of course, for those of you who don't go way back, is overdue. He's had his post-playing days issues. He also has admirably overcome those issues, most of which were related to addiction. He's spoken about it extensively. He's shared his experiences extensively to try to help others. There was a time where people in the extended Penguins family were terribly worried that he wouldn't make it. Well, he did. And now he's really made it. It's the culmination of a career that really got disrupted, beginning with Game 7 in 1993 against the Islanders when he was hit by Rich Pilon, went down to the ice face first, full force, requiring all kinds of extensive surgery just to, be able to, fully function. Since then, he's done work with Mario Lemieux, with the Penguins as a scout, and now he's there. And, not to downplay this honor in any way, but the mind races with what could have been of Artie's career if he hadn't gotten hurt. The pace at which he was scoring goals, the presence that he had as one of hockey's 2 or 3 most prominent power forwards, along with Cam Neely, John LeClair. But yeah, he made it. He made it. I couldn't be happier for him. He's one of those, you're always hearing people like me say stuff like, oh, you're a really good guy, really good. Artie's one of those people who doesn't do handshakes. He doesn't even do hugs. He does bear hugs that pick you up off the ground. You have to brace yourself when you approach the man. And I'm not going to lie, I'm looking forward to the next one of those, December 4, when he gets inducted in, of all places, right here in Pittsburgh. The same will apply to Cullen, who wasn't here anywhere near as long, but was such an important contributor in so many ways to both of the Penguins championships in 2016 and 2017. He was in so many ways to those teams what Brian Trottier was to the 91 and 92 teams. He played the role of elder statesman and took leadership in that regard so that Sidney Crosby wouldn't have to, just as Trottier did it, so that Mario wouldn't have to. But on top of this, and I really feel like this portion of Cullen's time in Pittsburgh isn't sufficiently appreciated, he was a really good offensive player. We talk about his draws, we talk about his defense, but he continued to score even into his 40s. What's more, he continued to score principally based on his speed. Yeah, there were a lot of smarts and some skill in there too, but he was still a fast guy when he got to 40. But yeah, now he's in, and now he gets to join, as Artie does, a lineage of American talent from the Penguins in that hall that's, it's unrivaled. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. If you just start with the management people and you're talking about Craig Patrick, who took a lot of pride in American hockey because he was Herb Brooks' assistant for the Miracle on Ice and never let go of that. to the point that he, of course, ended up hiring Herb to be his coach in Pittsburgh. Badger Bob Johnson, an American hockey icon, the man who led the Penguins to their first championship, and I mean led. He was the one who changed the culture. Tom Barrasso, recently elected to the Maine Hockey Hall of Fame. Joey Mullen, Bill Guerin, Scott Young, Eddie Olczyk. Jake Gensel's going to be in there someday. He's a slam dunk. It's not something I hear fans of this franchise talk about a lot. Maybe it'll come up around Olympic time or whatever when you're more focused on which players are from which countries as opposed to which NHL teams they're representing. But I've always appreciated this angle to this franchise's history. When we come back, J1Q. Today's J1Q comes from Brian, and it's in reference to yesterday's lead topic, which was pretty much my taking issue or expressing some dismay that people would doubt Sidney Crosby's intention to play out his career in Pittsburgh. Brian says, DK, the professionalism and class that Sid has displayed over the years can't be denied. And yes, I suspect Sid will want to finish his career in Pittsburgh. However, his response to the Jake Gensel trade last season, at a time when the team was desperately fighting for a playoff spot, cannot be completely disregarded. Has the emotion of that situation resolved? Until Sid's back, and until Sid's talking, until Sid's signed, and until Sid can sufficiently address that himself, I'm not going to have that answer, and I'm definitely not going to designate myself Sid's spokesman. Here's what I can tell you, though. You say, and I'm going to read it again, at a time when the team was desperately fighting for a playoff spot. Now, I'm maybe guilty of picking on semantics here with you, but that team wasn't desperately doing anything, much less fighting for a playoff spot. They were a disaster. They were a disaster leading into that, meaning the Jake trade, and they were a disaster coming out of it. The only difference in the disaster is that Sid was taking this visibly very hard, both on the ice and in areas that you didn't see. Now, that's not me defending it. I'm just trying to describe what the entire context was for this. So what ends up happening, and again, I would challenge you to really try to remember some of the individual games, meaning for the entire team, was that the team started playing better. And then there was that Carolina game where the kids really picked everybody up and you saw Sid start moving a little bit more too. And then, next thing you know, Lars Eller and a couple other guys in there are still pointing to the standings. Well, remember that the rest of us, and I think, honestly, a lot of the guys in that room thought they were out of it. They thought this was over. So I wouldn't excessively magnify that situation because nobody put more into that final month than 87 did. And what's more, as time has passed, a couple of other things have become self-evident. Jake got a ton of money from the Lightning. I don't know that the Penguins, I don't want to say could have, because you can do anything if you want under the cap. You could sign Jake to that contract amount. It'd be a challenge, but you could do it. The question is whether or not it's the right thing to do. I'm sure he can see that situation through a cleaner lens right now. I'm sure he also can see that the Penguins got an awful lot back from the Hurricanes for what ended up being really nothing for the Canes since they didn't advance and since they didn't keep the player. So let's say that, Sid either notices a Vasily Ponomarev or a Ville Koivunen in the early stages of camp, or they even do something interesting at the Prospects Challenge next week in Buffalo. And as I mentioned on yesterday's show, that he would have worked and did work with Kyle Dubas, communicating with Dubas throughout the summer. I just think it's a very different scenario than what it was in that very specific point in time that you're fairly citing for criticism. I appreciate the question. It was a good one. I appreciate everybody who listens to Daily Shot of Penguins. We'll be back with another one of these on Monday.